Bro, what skull emoji? What is he talking about? Because he didn't come. Hey yo, what the fuck? Popping. The thing that you do to get high scores in an online spot battle just for you to get kicked in the lobby. For the majority of skaters in the world, popping is just doing any trick you want, like an ollie, kickflip, tray flip. But this is Skate 3, so popping looks like this.
Bye, have a great time.
Referring to the list of glitches that I talked about in the previous video, you will notice that there is a segment for popping and there's a segment for bounces. Bouncing and popping are sort of similar, but I think the key difference between each two is that popping uses your skateboard, while bouncing just uses anything else. To initiate a pop, you must land in manual and then flick any trick of your choice. Whether it be on a flat ground or a slanted slope, depending on where you do it, you will get different results. For example, popping on flat ground will just pop you up in the air. Popping on a slant will send you forward, which makes it look like you have gained height, but through geometry and perspective you can figure out why you don't actually pop higher. I want to now give a little history about popping and the origins of where it came from. So for all your realistic purists, now is the perfect time to just... So contrary to popular belief, popping did not come from trick lining. Instead, it all started on September 11th. No, I'm just joking. Imagine though, like that'd be so fucking crazy. What I'm trying to do here, see how many clicks does it take to go from September 11th to Skate 3?
I would say
3. No way.
3 clicks?
4. I'm very
saying
unconfident.
4.
Okay. So we got New York. And then we got... What else?
Is there Brooklyn Banks at all?
Oh, go to Brooklyn Banks, like the spot in New York.
Really? I should do that.
Yeah.
Manhattan.
For education, though, he lives in New York
Manhattan.
City.
Is it Lower Manhattan?
Yeah.
It's in Manhattan because I remember in Tony Hawk's Pros Underground, it's in Manhattan.
Manhattan. Okay. Oh, skateboard. Brooklyn Banks.
Right there.
Here it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Why don't you try skate park? Right next to it. Skate.
What?
Well,
There's
no,
a skate
Brooklyn.
Skate park.
Yeah.
I think Brooklyn Banks would
Skate
be...
park?
Nah,
Okay.
this might work.
Skateboarding?
Skateboarding.
Yeah.
Video games.
Tony Hawk series and skate. Oh, there's...
Skate.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay, where's Skate
Sequels.
3? Skate 3.
It's in.
Ah!
Let's
There we
go!
go. We did it.
there it is.
How many clicks was that?
How many clicks was that?
Okay, so the true story is that it actually came from competitive. Source? There is no one definitive video where we can just point to and just say this is the first example of popping. So with that said, you're still gonna have to use my dude trust me rule, which I just feed back to the audience of what I was told from the OGs. That being anyone who's played from like 2010 to 2012. The first case of actual popping happened on Wrong Hole, but they didn't know that they were popping because they didn't know what they were doing. However, I can name one good use where popping first came in place. The community figured out during a spot battle that as long as you touch the object you're supposed to get points on, you can then drift away from said object and you will still earn those points. But there are extensions for where the points count. So, a good example would be library exit. On library exit, they want you to hit this planter that's directly in front of you, but it does extend to the right side, meaning you can go between this building and this light post, and it will still count. Before popping, the community did ghost reverting, which allowed them to keep their combos during these spot battles. But then when popping was figured out, it was found to be more useful. So instead of going straight and going next to the planter, you can go to the right and go off this ledge, which will give you more points. But doing a ghost revert is very inefficient, so they would pop off the ledge and pop once they land on the ground. But that was only for these ghost revert maps. It wasn't until when someone decided to bring it to a session spot battle that it became more useful. It was the turn of 2014 when people started to use popping in actual session spot battles. Beforehand, they were just doing 3 tricks. 3 tricks are just a series of tricks doing frontside spins with dart catches. The 3 came to the number amount of tricks you did before you landed in a stale to end that little combo to do the next one. So, when popping came around, we called it 4 popping, because in 3 tricking, we used a 360 hard flip, a 360 inward, and a tray flip. But for 4 popping, you would use a 360 hard flip, a 360 inward, a tray flip, and a laser. But then came 5 popping, which added another trick. In this trick sequence, you would be using a 360 hard flip, a nollie 360 hard flip, a nollie 360 inward, a laser, and then a tray flip. After hearing all that, I'm pretty sure all you're thinking is just... But that did not last long, because then came infinite pops. In all other comp forms, 3 trick, 4 pops, and 5 pops, we always ended our combo in a stale, because that was the cleanest way to land it without landing sketchy and losing speed. By landing in stale, there was a little buffer time between last trick and then the next trick to set up for the next combo of tricks. So infinite popping removed that buffer. Infinite popping allowed you to drop your trick and pop at the same time. It was important to end your combo so you wouldn't repeat a trick, because repeating a trick would mean less points. Infinite popping would allow you to drop your trick so you wouldn't have to repeat it. Thus the cycle of never-ending tricks, making it infinite. To do an infinite pop, it's the best to spin backside and push your stick to the far left if you're in Goofy, or the far right if you're in regular. So if you see any infinite popping kids in your lobby, you can blame this guy. Infinite pops are only useful in session spots or 1-ups, but there is an obscure form of popping called Octoflunka, which is really only used for ghost reverting spots, but that's not really necessary for the story. With the history lesson over and the realistic purist already clicking off this video, I will now go over the multiple different types of popping that you can do in this game. As previously mentioned before, you can do it off flat or on a slant. By landing in a manual or nose manual, you can link different tricks according to your creative play. However, what if I told you that those aren't the only two options? There is a secret third option where you can pop off a wall. As long as your wheels are in a nose manual and hitting a surface, you can pop off of anything. The floor, the wall, the ceiling? Not so much. What if I also told you that you don't also have to be in a manual to pop? Which leads me to late pops. To do a late pop, you have to do a high pop. The difference being is that you have to be crouched all the way down to initiate this pop. The key factor is once your wheels hit the ground, you then do the trick, which then pushes you up. Not every trick will give you the same popping height, so you might want to mess around with which ones you can and cannot do. The consistent ones are an inward or a hard flip, and its nollie forms. You can also mix it up by adding speed to it. This street I cannot clear with just a basic speed glitch, but if I were to do a late pop, I end up clearing it with ease. What if I told you you can also do it off of water, making it the Jesus pop? I'm kidding, it's not the Jesus pop. I'm not calling it the Jesus pop. It's a water pop, okay guys? This is the closest thing you're ever gonna get to Jesus. But essentially, it works just like a regular curve, and you just do the same thing that you've always been doing. And you can even apply that method to a rail or a ledge. The possibilities are actually endless. You can also get some sort of pop on flat by using some kind of speed glitch. I don't know what it is, but it seems that after you do an RB/R1 launch, and then when you hit the ground, you can pop your board, which will give you a height level amount to flip. And it doesn't even matter about how high or how far you went with that launch, because you can flip off of practically anything. Watch what happens when I do it off this car. Watch what happens when I do it off this slope. Watch what happens when I just speed glitch out of a bowl. Watch what happens when I do it off this wall. Okay, maybe not the wall, but you get my point. So in a different video, I mentioned pressure manuals. Ledge pops are also a thing. You have a curb, and you also have a ledge. Ledge pops work exactly like how a late pop would, except you need to find a ledge and hit it at a lot slower rate. Simply come to a ledge, fully crouch down, and flick your trick of choice, so the tail of your board ends up hitting... Okay, before I was rudely interrupted, your tail has to hit the ledge in order to get that pop. Going too fast, your tail won't hit the ledge. Going too slow, well, there's no such thing, because you need that slowness. There is yet another way to pop on flat, but this time this involves a tail drag to FS pop shove it. But just like anything in this game, it comes down to timing. Doing it too early, you won't get the pop. Doing it too late, you still won't get the pop. Doing it too fast, you run into Coach Frank. You have to do it at a specific point when dragging your tail. We're now going to bring it back to Skate 2, when we're introduced to grind popping and Cush popping. Grind popping happens when you start spamming your grab buttons right at the edge of a ledge or rail. Cush popping is when you're in a manual and then you revert and flick a trick off a ledge. However, they patched that out in Skate 3. Or so they thought. In Skate 2, you're able to do a Cush pop off of any ledge. In Skate 3, it doesn't really work like that. There's a certain height in the game you have to be in order for the game to think that there's nothing below you. For example, the void. If you can find a spot that goes into the void, you can then Cush pop off of it. But if you get on top of a building, there's a high chance that the game doesn't believe that there's any ground underneath you. A good way to check is if you're on easy mode and you can't flip off that building. Once you found that ledge, you can then manual revert and flick a trick to initiate the Cush pop. But why is it called the Cush pop in the first place? Well, Dank Cush 420 weed, baby. It's 2009, get over it. There's a pop that seems to only be done on normal, and that's what we call a curb boost? I did not know about this until now, so allow me to explain. Because of normal's low popping ability, if you do a certain trick up to a curb, you can get a boost and a pop out of it. It plays with the hit detection when the board hits the ground, giving you that boost and pop. Just like the Dark Varial ground pop. This one doesn't have to be a normal, but what you need to do is be in a dark slide, which then goes into flat. There will be a few seconds to where you can dark slide on flat ground, but you can't get out of it unless you flick out. Another way to get this is if you end up dark sliding on a curb. You just gotta make sure to find a surface area that's really close to the ground. And you will only get the pop if you hit it backside. Hitting it front side won't give you anything. So, get creative. So, do you remember the pressure manual pop? Well, there's a pressure hippie pop. The pressure hippie pop usually works on lower rails, and doing a either 360 inward or a 360 hard flip. A great example would be this rail at Sanatorium, but you can make your own and get a hippie flip out of it, given in this clip. And now for the hardest pops, the Crail Pop / seatbelt pops. In trick lining, we have the no comply flip. Well, the alternative would be the seatbelt / Crail Pop. Given the name, if you hold a Crail or a seatbelt grab, you won't pop upwards. But that is a key grab to do to get this pop. There are certain slopes in the game that you can just regularly pop off of and have enough height to do a flip. However, there are some slopes that you don't get as much air. So to counter this, you would land in a Crail and then pop your trick, giving you the right height to do a flip. But doing this on flat is completely different. Depending on which grab you do, you have to do a hard flip or a nollie hard flip. Holding a seatbelt grab, you do a hard flip. Holding a Crail grab, you do a nollie hard flip. You land in manual and then you pop the trick. With these grabs, you can vary the trick like an inward or a pop shove it. This pop does have a really small window to execute. Doing it too late, you won't get a pop. Doing it too early, you'll just explode. Okay, I'm actually not lying, you do explode.
Bye, have a great time.
And it is possible to link this trick out of a no comply if you wanted to. Or you can just link them all together. Holy shit, bro, just calm down. So now it says here that you can do a shifty tail or nose grab pop, which I'm assuming is just the same thing as the Crail / seatbelt pop. So my next video will be about bounces. Come back for that.